Quick, for those of you that don't necessarily know this, I'm a retired Army colonel. Spent 26 years, graduated from West Point, became a public works director, and did that for a number of years, and then I became a street lighting consultant. And I also serve on the American National Standards Institute for outdoor lighting. So I help set the standards for how these lights are designed and built and tested and that sort of thing. And over the course of 17 years, I've probably helped 125 communities acquire their street lighting assets. I've written the laws in 3 states that force the utilities to sell their street lighting assets. I've served as an expert witness in rates and tariff cases. So I bring this kind of mixed bag of experience to the table, which I think has really helped me be a better consultant, because you could take the DPW out of me, or you take me out of the DPW, but you can't get the DPW out of me. I still look at this from your perspective. That's how I see it. And as I see, my role is to help you make informed decisions and to guide you to the lowest possible cost so that the taxpayers get the benefit of your decisions. And at the end of the day, if you think about it, you can do all kinds of energy efficiency projects, change the boilers, do the interior lighting, all of these kinds of things. Nobody notices. But you change your street lights, everybody notices. So it's an opportunity for you to rebrand your community and do it in a way that is visible to every citizen of how you're committed to helping save money and make life better for them. So there's no project that's more rewarding really than doing your street lights, in my experience. So it's important that you do it right. So what I want to do is to walk you through the process, and it starts with understanding what you have and then figuring out how you're going to change it, what it's going to look like when you're done, and then lastly, whether or not you want to install a sophisticated control system and start getting involved in what they call the Internet of Things, or smart cities. So why do you do an audit? There's 3 fundamental reasons you do an audit. The first of these is you want to verify that the utility's been billing you correctly, so you know what you're buying. Number 2, you need information about your system to help you decide on the design. The question that was asked, do I need this light? Do I not need this light? Does it need to be brighter than it is, or can it be darker? So you want to gather the information you need about design. Now, an interesting thing is if you've got somebody out in the field recording information already, the City of Providence asked us while we were auditing their system to also record sidewalk issues and catch basin issues and manhole covers. So we had the auditors use the same platform that they were collecting the data on the streetlights to put a condition index for each of these other things, and then where there were specific conditions to actually take a photograph. So now we had a layer within our GIS database where you could click and see what the condition was in that layer. So you could take advantage of the fact that you're out walking every street and get this other information for only a marginal increase in cost versus doing the regular audit. So the other thing about design considerations is a couple things. Realize that this is a come-as-you-are party. I guarantee you nobody did a street lighting design and determined what the average foot candles would be and all of that sort of thing before they put that light up there. The pole's where it is because it's based on the span distance from the next pole and the strength of the wire and how much it sags. It has nothing to do with light distribution. So the lights were put where the poles were and where people asked for them. And generally got built over time. As a city council said, well, we need more light in this area, so they asked the utility to come out and put up some more lights, so more lights got put up. Then you also have Mrs. Smith, who's 89 years old, and she's feeling insecure, and she asked her councilman to make that light in front of her house brighter because she didn't feel safe. And so now, in the middle of this neighborhood full of 70-watt lights, there's a 250-watt light. And Mrs. Smith is now in the Elmwood Cemetery, and she's been there for 13 years. So, but that light is still there, and it's still burning a lot of electricity, and it's really not benefiting the neighborhood. So these are the kinds of things you're going to be looking for when you're out auditing your lights. You're going to be looking for consistency within neighborhoods, consistency within roads, and that sort of thing. There's a document called IESNA, the Illuminating Engineering Society of North America, publishes their RP8-14 guidelines. And in it, there's a table that says if you're on a residential street with low pedestrian conflict, we want you to have an average of 0.3 of a foot candle with a max to min ratio of not greater than 6. So that's your target for design. But be very, very careful. Couple things. One is IESNA does not recognize the fact that a lumen from a low pressure sodium lamp and a lumen from a LED lamp, the human eye sees very differently. They treat every lumen as if it's the same, and yet there are studies that will show low pressure sodium light lumen takes 5 times as many to get the same visual clarity you get with a LED light because of color rendering and crispness. Identifying shadows and shapes and things is much clearer under a high color rendering source than under a poor color rendering source. The other thing you want to be careful of, I remember I was doing a project down in Florida and they said they wanted to adopt the DOT standards for their neighborhood, so they were going to try to achieve certain foot candle standards based on, you know, the neighborhood and where the lights were. And I said, whoa, 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 don't do that. The minute you adopt a standard, you're going to have lawyers out there with light meters suing you because you're not meeting your own standard for one reason or another. So you want to be very careful. There's no law that requires you to light your streets. So what you're going to do is establish general guidelines that you're going to follow. And the other thing you're going to do is some legal precedents around this, is that when you, for example, down in Florida there was a light that burned out. It was on a narrow alleyway. A young boy on his way to school bus stop who walks down that alleyway was hit and killed. And Florida Power and Light was sued, and they lost. They had to pay millions of dollars to the family because they couldn't show that they had a process for when they received the work order, when they processed the work order, when it was assigned to a crew, and so on and so forth. They just couldn't show that they had an organized process to solve this problem. On the other hand, there's a town in Massachusetts that turned off half of their lights to save money. They turned a light off because they said it wasn't necessary. Someone walked out underneath one of these lights that had been turned off and was killed, an elderly woman who had been attending a funeral, and her estate sued the town. Now, because this town had gone through a formal process with public comment and the whole thing, the court said, doesn't matter. Even if you made a bad decision, you're still indemnified against being sued. So there are a couple lessons there. One is if when you get ready to do your design, set it up as a guideline, not as a firm fixed thing that you're going to try to do. And secondly, make sure as you go through this you do a public process, right? That way, and get the public involved. That way you have your fallback. You've got your buffer. So this shows you the information that I like to collect when we're out there. The system that I use with my auditors is all done through an iPad. It uses a free application you can get from ArcGIS called Collector. Now, unfortunately, Collector doesn't have all the drop-down menus, but they'll allow you to use their software and everything. What we've done is we've built specific drop-down menus and stuff just for street lighting into the program that I use with my auditors. And then I maintain 50 licenses. And right now I got about 49 of them in use. Even some in Jamaica. So this is the information we collect. You go out there, you just, everything's touch, so it's fairly quick. And a typical auditor can do 200 to 300 lights a day. It's best if it's done with 2 people, one person driving, one person recording, because if you're driving and trying to do it by yourself, the other way, of course, to do it is by walking. And if you're a small community with 40 or 100 or even 200 lights, you can walk that. Just start on one side of town and go to the other. And we can help. We have on our website,
NYStreetlights.org.
nystreetlights.org, a guide for how to do this, and it tells you what the information is to collect. The other reason why you do an audit of your lights is you're going to own an asset. So it's probably a good idea for you to know what that asset is. And if you later decide to install a control system, you'll need that information anyway as part of the control network, because that's all GIS based.